Hi,
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay, and you? Sorry, I just want to adjust the volume. Yeah,
Okay,
that's better. Yeah. That's better. I'm good. And you? How's your morning so far?
it's good. A little busy, but good. Can't complain.
Yeah, where I'm based in South Africa at the moment, there's this heat wave, and it's
Okay,
killing me right now. It's
how
killing
hot
me
is
right
it?
now. Yeah, it's quite hot. So then I'm
Oh,
like, okay, you know, let me sort of like have like a coldish shower. But the moment I walk into the studio, the heat just like hit me. I'm luckily, like I said, I had like 30 minutes to get myself together before coming on. Like
well,
I'm a
we're
summer
in.
guy,
Okay,
but
we're
heat
entering
waves.
winter here, so no, I will pass on the heat wave.
Which do you prefer more, heat or cold?
Neither. Like I want 75, like in the middle all year long. Like I don't want it hot and I don't want it cold.
Yeah. Balanced. You just want it
Yes,
balanced.
yes.
Yeah. But thanks for coming on, especially on a Saturday. I do know that you have a hectic lifestyle based on what I know so far and what I've read. You're
Just a
up to
little.
a lot.
Just a yes.
Yeah, you're up to a lot. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret before we get started. So your publicist, Mickey.
Mm-hmm.
So so each Monday I do a new author for him.
Okay.
So on the list itself, like you were there, but there was a reason that I wanted to actually chat to you first.
Okay.
See, excuse me for 1 second. Okay, yeah, we're back. Okay. So there's another author that's under him as well. His name is Don Sawyer. He's from Canada. I'm not sure if you're
Mm-hmm.
familiar with him.
I am.
He's author of
Yes.
a book called, yeah, The Burning Gem, your Harry Potter sort
Mm-hmm.
of vibe going on. So after I had a chat with Dawn, like we just went like astray, like with the conversation. We touched on so many topics globally, from global warming to inequality to tribalism and how people are divided and so on. And then he came up with this idea is like, after our chat, let's put a panel together, a panel of individuals all around the world that are like, doing humanitarian work. So Mickey got involved in the conversation and he was okay. I'm going to send you a list of a few people who could fit, with this panel. So of course you were on the list, to come onto the podcast later on. But I was like, okay, Mickey, Don has decided that I should chat to DC first because he was quite impressed about you. So we
Aw.
thought, okay, that you would like fit well, with the panel. Of course, now with short notice, the first recording is going to be going out on the 11th, which is this coming, is it Wednesday? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday. So I will send you, a PDF that explains what it's about. And then if you're interested, we would love it if you would come on to the next panel.
Okay, yes, because Wednesday I'm already booked. I was like, yeah, that's really short notice. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really short notice. So yeah, that's the secret. So that's how we've come to be having like a conversation, quicker than
Okay.
as expected. But yeah, I want to send you this because yeah, from the list that he sent us, like he was impressed. I was impressed about the work that you're doing. So it was like a perfect fit. So I'll send it to you, and then if you are interested and if it's something for you, if it's your cup of tea, then you can let us know. So we're planning to do it like once a month. So of course the next one will be like in January next year.
Okay.
And then we can have you on that one. It'll be like between 8 to 10 people each time. So yeah, that would be quite cool.
Awesome. I like it.
Yeah. So that's that. So where do we actually start? With you, as I said, there's so many touching points here, and I feel like I'm motivated myself from this conversation. Like let's go back to day one. You're a podcaster, you're a motivational speaker, you're a coach, you're also in the military. So how did it all start for you?
So we're gonna go way back. Just back it up a little. I'm
Yeah.
actually from the Dominican Republic. So moved to the States when I was 10 and a half. So I have what I call, I'm a very child of the world, if that makes any sense. My family moved from one country to another. I joined the military after college, so I have a lot of different perspectives when I see the world. One thing that has always been consistent is I've always been a storyteller. I love telling stories. I love connecting with people through stories and just having those conversations. When I left the military, when I joined the military, literally, I want to say during basic training, 9/11 happened. And my perspective changed. You know, I think all of us who lived through that era, our lives changed. I was in the armed forces. So I kind of put aside the storytelling world for a while. And then fast forward a couple, 15 years or so. And I found myself in a really good job, very much, doing well, living what we call the American dream. And I was miserable. Like I hated everything. I was miserable. I wasn't doing anything creative. I wasn't living my purpose. So that's kind of when the concept of like, what if you wrote a book? And it was the whole purpose of writing a book was just to get me back into storytelling, to get me to find that joy, to get me to find my purpose. And that's just kind of snowballed from there. And that's literally going to be 8 years when I decided to start publishing, to go professional, to do all the things just to get me back to grounding myself as a creative individual. So this is where we're at now.
Yeah, yeah. I was listening to every word you're saying, but I was also getting distracted. We sort of getting some latency. Okay, we're good to go.
So what does all come together? So let me give you kind of the quick background story of just bringing it all back to podcaster, publishing, and all that fun stuff. Literally, my entire purpose was to actually be back to storytelling. So I grew up in Dominican Republic, moved to the States, joined the military, do all that fun stuff because I wanted to learn about people. I wanted to be a storyteller. And then 9/11 happened, and I was in the military at the time. And lo and behold, my life changed. So I found myself for over 15 years being very much focused on what I call corporate America. I had the perfect job, I had all this stuff, and I was miserable. So that's kind of how that whole purpose of coming back home, finding my essence, and literally getting back to being a storyteller and doing what I usually call we all have a God-given gift. And if you don't follow that or find that purpose, you will find yourself miserable regardless of what you're doing. So that's kind of how the background behind that.
Yeah. It's like, like I tell a lot of people, like you see so many unhappy adults, these days. And I know you have a master in adult education, and I want to touch on that. And for me, like from what I've evaluated for myself, like these people in their mid-30s or 40s, they're so miserable because they just never follow their true heart or calling purpose in life. They just went with.
Think about it this way. We get used to doing what we're supposed to do. And I know I do quotations a lot. Because we're thinking we're doing the right thing. We're thinking we're doing what life says we're supposed to do. And we truly believe at some point in time that we're supposed to grow up. Let's be honest. Adulthood is overrated. I don't care what anybody said. I hit that age and I told my brothers there were much difference in age. And I was like, listen, enjoy being a kid because adulthood is overrated. Like whoever said you were trying to rush, only kids want to be adults. The rest of us are like, trust me, it's not that exciting. So adulthood has that way of us thinking we're supposed to be responsible, and we forget to play, we forget to dream, we forget to follow those things that made us smile when we were little, and then we find ourselves stuck. And then we wonder why we're miserable. I'm like, we did that to ourselves.
Yeah, we did. There's another podcast I co-host is called Talking Back to Suicide. And in there, I said that who is stopping us as adults from just being children? We're told not to act as a child when we grow up, and let's just say from your teens upwards into your 20s, 30s. Oh no, stop acting as a child. But at the time, it's good to act as a child. It's really good to act as a child. You just go out there. Not saying be responsible in what you do, but act like a child, be a child, laugh like a child. Worry less like a child. No, you're 100% correct. I agree with you 100% there. There's too many people out there who are miserable. Deep down, they know what's their true calling. They really know what they want to do with their life. It's either because of, fear or what people are going to think about me, or I'm going to get judged. So why should I not actually do something that my heart is, truly calling me to do? And then you end up miserable. And then you end up getting married in this relationship. And then, that doesn't work out because both parties, feel like they're missing something in their lives. And then from there on, it's just drama. So you're 100% correct.
It's really hard to deal with fears, I think, once we hit 40, because there's so much to lose. Like you're looking in your 40s and you have the kids and you have the house and you have payments and you have whatever you have.
Yeah.
And that fear of, being responsible and holding everything down hits you even harder at that age. So taking those leaps and following your dreams becomes harder the older you get, because there's a lot more to lose. When you're in your 20s, we're fearless. Well, we're fearless because, let's be honest, there's not that much at stake. We can take these leaps. If it doesn't work, we can regroup. As once you pass a certain age, we feel, it might not be the case, but we feel there's so much more at risk. So then we stay stuck again. We stay miserable. We stay focusing on the things that are holding us back instead of realizing you can make a choice. And the choice might not be easy, it might take some time, but it's a lot more rewarding than being stuck where we're at.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, I guess, we all had that experience, I can possibly say I had that, in my life as well. You were told what to do, you knew what you wanted to do. And then, I'm like, in the music business. And then you just get so caught up, like, in the system and expectations from your family, from your parents, from your teachers, from your friends. And, you just follow the system. You go out there and you get a job, and then you just end up so miserable. And I'm just glad that at least, like, like for me, for my personal story, like in my mid-20s, I was like, nah, something's not right here. Like, I'm not happy, I'm just not happy, like, it's like people who are chasing money all the time. They're chasing the next promotion, and because they want to get this and they want to buy that, and then they get that, but they're still not happy. They just still not happy. So yeah, that's
I think you nailed it. It comes back to listening to that voice that says something's not right. Like there's something in here that is not fulfilling all those things we're supposed to be doing. And we do it all the time. We follow the path. We follow, we get into systems. We do all the things we're supposed to do. And then you find yourself going, I feel like I took a wrong turn somewhere. Like I missed something that was not supposed to be. And then getting out is so hard sometimes, because you feel, to some extent, you have the people that always like, I've committed 20 years. And every time I hear that, whether it's 20 years to a bad marriage or 20 years to a job, I'm like, I have never heard anybody in jail that says, I've been here 20 years. How about you keep me for 20 more? Why are we stuck ourselves? And they look at me like, I don't think I like you. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're miserable, why would you stay? They're like, well, I have all this invested. I'm like, and what? Hell? Like, who does that?
Yeah.
So I get that a lot.
It comes down to humility as well. When you get so used to a certain lifestyle, you don't follow your heart, you don't follow your passion, you get a great job, or any kind of job, and as one go back to the money again, you keep chasing the money, and then you get used to a certain lifestyle. But like as you said, like, I got so much to lose now. If I leave all of this, I'm not going to be able to eat McDonald's 3 times a week. I'm not going to be able to drive this new car that I just bought. But like, take the 10 steps back. Honestly, humility. Get rid of the car, get rid of the lifestyle, start focusing on your dream, and just build it step by step. And you're going to find so much more joy, not happiness, joy in that process.
You don't have to do it all at once. I think that's the part most people feel like. I know I can be an extremist. You don't have to quit the job and sell the house to be happy. You just have to take one step closer to who you are. And slowly the things come together. As adults, the first thing people is like, I'm just going to quit my job and do. I'm like, whoa, baby steps. Like, you didn't get here overnight. Like, you don't have to just drop everything to find happiness. The hardest thing is to take that first step to get you to the happiness level. It is taking one step closer to where you're at. So for everybody who's convinced that like, we're telling you to drop everything and go, slow down. You work too hard to get here. You just have to get yourself permission to say, you can try something new. And that can be as small as, if you were a creative person, Go back to painting, go back to writing music, go back to doing something. And slowly those things will add up that you can either transition fully or find a good flow that you can do both. So this is where the scary part comes into adults, because they feel like in order to be true to who they are, they have to drop everything. I was like, that's not realistic. Like, I still want you to eat. Like, I still want you to eat well. But
Yeah.
it's finding that essence of who you are. And sometimes the first thing you're going to do is figure out what's the one small thing I can do today. And that one small thing might be take yourself on a date. Go out and go to the bookstore, go out to the craft store, go to the hardware store, go buy some lumber, make something. But get yourself back, and it just be one small step. And it can be one small step a week. And then you add two things, and then whatever that might be to get your soul back to resonating with that. And it just takes one step.
Yeah. I mean, what you said about, with your latest book, which we're going to touch on, about the distractions that actually stop us, from living our dreams. And that's just a reality. I see it in my life as well. Even though I've taken so many steps that other people are scared to take, there's still distractions,
Mm-hmm.
and how do we go about actually eliminating those distractions at time? Sometimes it's not easy, it's just not easy at all. So what's like your take on that, with regards to your new book, with Monday Motivation? How do we eliminate the distractions? What do we have to do in our own personal capacity to ensure that, we don't get distracted?
I think you named something from the beginning, is those fears. The first thing I'm going to tell you that writing these books, I am in book number 22, I think 23 published books, right? And most people's like, I know. So most people at this point in time, like, oh, you should be able to do this with your eyes closed and do these things. Every single time a book comes out, there's still the same fear in your stomach. There's still the same nerves. There's still the same kind of like butterflies and jittery. So one of my mentors had a quote that I have adopted, which makes everything part of what I do, is do it afraid. Like, you're not going to get that fear out of you. You're not going to get that pains. So when you're feeling distracted, or even if you're procrastinating, I recently read a book that I loved, which is, Who Not How, but he talks about use procrastination as your superpower to give you the insight that the reason you're procrastinating is because you don't have all the information or you don't have all the resources. So don't see it as a bad thing, but also realize if we're waiting to get fearless, and this is coming from the soldier, because I thought I had to be fearless to do all these things, it's not going to happen. Like, you have to take these leaps afraid. You have to take these leaps knowing in your heart, like, oh, this could really fail. But if it doesn't, what's the worst that can happen? So when you're looking at distractions, sometimes our distractions are there to protect us. Our fear is supposed to protect us from, like, getting hit by a car. That's great if you're outside crossing the street. What happens when you're not? What if your fears are holding you back? Then you got to go back and realize they're not going to go away, and you're going to have to do it afraid, or you're going to get stuck in the same place you are. And the worst thing you can find yourself is looking back and say, man, I should have taken the leap. And that's really hard.
Yeah, it is hard. Like, an example I'll put on the table with distraction is like it's good to plan ahead, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Failing to plan is planning to fail. We've all heard that quote. And there's so much truth to it. You plan your schedule for the next day. Okay, ABC, this is what I'm going to get done. And throughout the day, like, you just end up in so many different distractions that's irrelevant to your life, especially with society. As much as we're here to do good for society as well, but you just get involved like in all these pettiness, hence why these topics are going to be brought up within this panel as well. And you just feel like, no, I need to jump on a podcast now, and I'm getting held back because of ABC. And then, like, psychologically or even emotionally, you feel like, now I need to get onto this podcast, and I'm feeling so emotionally drained. And I'm sure there's like a lot of people that after an emotionally draining day, if you still got a full-time job that you absolutely hate doing, but I'm a creator, I'm a writer, I want to go back home, I'm going to write until 2 a.m. before I have to wake up at 5, 6 a.m. again to get back to my miserable job. Like that emotional aspect of it, when you emotionally drain, like it's so hard for people to get out of that, to self-motivate, self-regulate.
This
You
is the
know,
part where sometimes we want to beat ourselves and become that drill sergeant that pushes ourselves to do everything like, you gotta go do this. Believe it or not, sometimes taking a step back and giving yourself the grace to say, I need a day off. And I need a day off mentally for me. I need a day to connect, pull the phones down, put everything down, and just give yourself.
yeah,
Sometimes I think we confuse self-care and self-comfort. Self-comfort is like comfort food here in the States. Like, I'm going to go eat, something that's going to make me smile. Self-care is literally like, I'm going to go meditate. Self-care is I'm going to, have a conversation with somebody who cares, who can listen to me. Self-care is knowing that sometimes your schedule might be too packed. Like, I am notorious for packing the schedule. Like, I looked at my day today and I was like, ooh, that sounds painful. Like, what am I doing? Hubby goes like,
yeah,
do you want to go see a movie? Believe it or not, yesterday I was like, I have too much to do. We can't. And this morning I was like, yes to the movie. Let's go. We need to do that, because it's the balancing in our life. It is trying to make sure that we still know why we're here for. Because here's the part. We can pack our days up with really good things to do, and then you're going to be exhausted. Even doing the good work will still get you drained unless you find a way to give to yourself. So for anybody who's finding themselves distracted or overwhelmed, look at your schedule and find out where's your me time. What is your me time? Not the time that you think you're going to be putting on the books, not the times you're going to be doing on. What is yours? Where you can just sit on the couch and just, I don't know, count some tiles and vegetate and just be like, I'm done. I just need, because if you're not giving yourself that rest, this becomes a rat race. Whether you're chasing your dreams or whether you're chasing the job, whether you're chasing the promotions, the worst thing you're going to have is those regrets. And the regrets comes back to being tired. Back in my 20s and 30s, working nonstop and sleeping 4 hours was nothing. Now I'm like, I need like 7.5, like 8 hours. And I'm like, I need to go to bed. Like, that's when you realize you're an adult, is when you're like, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock. It's like, so I'm going to go to bed. I'll see you in the morning. They're like, what? You're old. I'm like, yeah, it's called sleep. Like, sleep. I need some of that. But once you realize what gets you through those days, I am so much more productive when I get 7-8 hours of sleep. Like, I wake up and I'm like, yes, let's go run the world. And people are like, what?
yeah,
Like, I got some sleep. Don't worry about it. I got this. You feel that. You talked about, all those decisions, emotional paralysis. If you have a full day of making decisions, even dumb decisions like which way I'm going to go to work and how, it's draining. So understanding that, like, find what time of the day you're productive. I am a morning person. So you want to see me doing things amazing early in the morning. I make no decisions after 4 because I'm drained. I'm like, I will make, grocery, anything that doesn't require full, intelligence powers going on is my afternoon, because I'm tired. I know that for a fact. So knowing yourself tends to have that sense of like, okay, this is going to be okay.
Yeah. I feel, like we all naturally morning people. We just don't realize it yet. Like, your morning is your transformational period versus the afternoon, which is your transactional period. Like, if you had a good night's sleep, and I'm going to mention something about sleep, next. I feel like, you're going to be most productive. Actually, any human out there will be most productive in the morning. Like, if you are up at a good time and, you get all your main tasks done, you've taken care of yourself via meditation, exercise, taking a walk in nature, prayer, reading a book or any sort of material, even watching a video that's going to benefit whatever you may be doing in your life now, that is like the best period of the day, like that's just what, I feel about that. So, and like with regards to sleep, I was chatting to someone else on the podcast 2 weeks ago. So he carries many hats when it comes to the medical field, but just to like make it simple for listeners, he's a sleep doctor. Right? He's a sleep doctor. And, we're having this conversation about sleep. And he says, that you have to get 8 hours of sleep each and every single night. You have to. And then I remember bringing it up in another conversation with someone else who also like elaborated on that as well, to saying that if you wake up before 8 hours, it affects your body in a negative way.
Mhm.
If you wake up after 8 hours, it also affects your body in a negative way. So with the sleep doctor now, I threw a question at him and I said, okay, cool, fair enough. Yes, I want to get 8 hours of sleep. But, and there's always buts, it's not always possible depending on what exactly are my tasks or responsibilities, especially now if you're an entrepreneur or,
Mhm.
any form of creative at the moment. You're working in different time zones. We're living in this digital era now. It's not like 20, 30 years ago where you were just working locally. Okay, cool. Okay, I know in the States, times will differ, but in South Africa, it's boom. If it's 1 p.m., it's 1 p.m. all over. So it's cool. You could work that way. But now we're living in this era where, okay, I'm in South Africa during the day. I have a record label to also run. I have artists to deal with. I have, a team who gets demotivated each and every single day, So you have to deal with all of that. And then during the night, and now if I'm, doing the podcast and now it's growing and I got like 3 or 4 podcasts, it's in a different time zone. I have to also focus on that. And I love doing that also when it complements my work. So how do I get 8 hours of sleep? But even though I told him all of this, he's still like, you need to make a plan. But then I realized what he was trying to tell me, you know, because then I started to take accountability for my life. Yes, my lifestyle is changing, cool, no problem, and it's changing in a positive way. It's moving in the right direction. I'm getting growth. So I need to take accountability for that, and I need to understand and learn the power of no. So if I need to deal with something in South Africa tomorrow morning with someone who says, okay, can we do this at 8 o'clock? But if I know I'm only going to get into bed at, say, 12 p.m. or 1 a.m. because of the podcast, whatever the case may be, I need to still make sure that I get that 8 hours and tell that person, look, I'm only going to see you at 10. That's what I've realized. So it's happening for me, not to me.
It's really
So,
hard.
yeah.
As a solopreneur and as an entrepreneur, one of the hardest things for us is to say people no. And I read somewhere which had made me giggle. They're like, because if you say no to people, they're going to respect you more. And the author's like, that's not the case. They're going to get mad. I was like,
Yeah.
amen. Like, I've not met anybody like, I respect you because you said no. They're just mad. People are going to be mad and people are going to literally want to kidnap your schedule. One of the things, my biggest life change this year was I recently got married. And I
Yeah,
realized
yeah.
people
Congrats.
have thank you. But I had a lot more time as a single person running a business and doing all these things than I did as a married woman. So one of the biggest changes in my life was like saying Monday through Thursday, I'm very specific of the appointments that I have. Like I'm just very much like, no, I don't do weekday appointments. So I can spend it with a hubby. That's one of the things that I had to make decisions. So I have very few commitments. And if they are, it needs to be less than an hour. Like I still need to be home at a certain time. I still want to spend
Yeah.
time with my husband. But it was a decision. And it was interesting to see that a lot of my friends who've been married for a while kind of joke about it. I was like, he needs to be a priority. If not, they're not a priority at all. If you don't make your family, if you don't make yourself a priority, you're never going to be a priority. And it became kind of the discussion, especially for the people who've been married for a while, because they looked at me, he's like, what made you decide that? I was like, hey, I've been single for a very long time. I know
Yeah.
me. You give me a 4 block hour, that 4 block hour will get filled. Like it's going to be allocated to something very quickly. So they were just kind of amazed at the fact I was like, I wish I would have done something, because now trying to clean your schedule and clear it to add family time or add something else becomes very hard. So I love the fact that you said, I have to, it's mine. It's not happening to me. And then you can be like, this is my schedule. This is what I have. So my booked hours, which shocks people, like I still do a day life. So I have a day job that I adore now because I have very much separation of church and state, as I call it. But my book world is Thursday through Sunday. You know what I mean? This is very specific. This is where I do interviews. This is where I hang out. Just because it gives me that balance of everything else. I realize, unlike many authors, I need structure. Like I need to be able to leave my house and go to an office and then come back. And then I need to leave the office away and become creative. So I need both to be very balanced and happy.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you like balance, you know, from a day job to being a creator and, also family life? What's the best way to go about it? Because that's also, like a lot of people that I've consulted with, that's also, at times where it just goes so wrong for them. They can't get that right. They just can't get that right. And especially like in the music business and dealing with independent artists and how it works, if you telling your wife that, okay, I am going to be busy in studio for the next 3 days, I may not even come home for the next 3 days, and then you finally rock up home, but they don't realize, the entire process, how this goes of whether we're putting a single together, we're putting an album together, what goes in, the financial aspect of it, and the return on that investment in time and money is only going to be a couple months down the line. you know, the partner is not really happy about that. You've been away for 3 days. You're not really bringing anything home. So my solution, or where I come in, I tell people that, look, before you jumped into that relationship, you should have first, informed your partner who you're going to marry. Look, if you are going to marry me and go down this road with me, this is what I do, and this is what's required of me. Okay. And it's either you're willing to accept it or not. Some artists have made the fall and say, okay, look, I'm just going to give up my career. It wasn't important enough. But the word regret, they're going to regret it one day. I've come across artists like that. And some are just still stuck in that same scenario. They just can't find the balance.
So
So,
you
I
nailed
mean,
it.
yeah.
You nailed it right there. Is those critical conversations, one of my dear friends calls it, is like, if you don't have critical conversations from the beginning, it's really hard to come back and be like, we need to have a sit down, like we need to have a powwow. I am very, very
Yeah, yeah.
blessed that my husband also writes, so he understands that part. But one of the biggest things is when we got together, started dating, is I'm doing 8 to 10 events a year. Like I'm on the road all the time, and these events at 3 to 4 days. You know what I mean? Like you going somewhere, I'm doing Comic Cons, I'm doing all these things. I'm in Texas here in the US, but I was going to Florida. We're going to one side of the country to the other. So one of the things that he wanted to do, which was a blessing because I have friends who don't, is come with me. So he got to see that. He got to see that world. Like I'm carrying, 200 books to an event, and we're going to be there setting up this booth, and we're going to be there for 3 days. So it gave him an understanding of that world, and he understands, like, I am peopling nonstop. Like I am definitely on a road. I'm doing my part. So he became a really good support system, but he had to kind of see it. And sometimes as an artist, we want to keep all of our parts separated. You can't keep that part of your life separated because your spouse is not going to know. They don't understand
Yeah.
what it feels like to be. So if I am in the day job, our joke is like, if I come home and I'm talking 500 miles a minute, like my joke is I didn't get all my words in today. So you need to listen because I need to talk it out. When we go to events and I'm talking all day, like we'll come home, we'll just sit there and just stare at each other like, I love you. We just have quiet time because we're drained. But it took a lot of more of my part to be honest and state, this is my world. This is what my world looks like. This is what I'm planning to do. And this is what I love. You can be a part of it. I'm willing to compromise in time. I'm willing to make sure you have space. I don't ever want my spouse to feel that they're not a part in my life, but they also understand that there's all these other parts. So you can be a part of that. And my job is to always communicate. Like I have to make sure they know what I'm doing. So now we ask these questions like, how was your day? What did you do? And it's things that have to become part of your routine, or else you eventually become ships in the night, like you crossing each other and not communicating. And that's usually where relationships just fall apart.
Yeah, yeah. No, 100%. Agreed. So 24, you said 24 books, 24 books till date.
Yes.
23, 24 books, right? What was your first book? What is the name of your first book?
My first book is called Desk Intern. So it is a urban fantasy adventure here taking place in Texas based on the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So I have a Army vet that joins Texarkana and now magically, well, not magically, she gets a knock on the door and it's death. So death offers her a job. So she has one friend that goes missing, and if she wants to save him, then she has to take the job. So that's how it started.
Yeah, yeah. And how long ago was this? Like when you first put in your first book?
Death's
Is
Intern
it
literally just turned 7. So it got published 7 years ago.
7 years ago?
Hmm.
And do you have any like, okay, so what's your like creative process?
I
You
am a
know?
plotter. So I know people, so we have plotters and pantsers. So pantsers are people that sit down and just let inspiration take them. My husband writes that way, which is amazing to me because my muse leaves me at page 30 and doesn't come back ever. So I'm left on a blank page. So I usually take most of my time comes back into the development process. Like, what is that story going to be? I will spend months, dating a story, as I call it. Like, I will definitely think about what I want to write. And these stories, which is spent literally that much time in my head, kind of deciding what I want to do. I will do outlines and then I'll start writing. So I'm a pretty fast typist once I know what my story is going to be. So I changed my entire process. So I'm working on publishing through seasons. So my seasons of publishing is between September and December. So this year I did a couple of short stories for a collection. I had the motivation book. I have a new novel that came out in September, part of my urban fantasy series. I have a spicy retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, who happens to be a serial killer. So, yeah,
That sounds interesting.
so much fun.
Yeah. So there's a fine line um, between fiction and non-fiction.
Mhm.
There's a fine line. So you're a plotter. You're a plotter. But is your plotting based on what you see in the world and you just bring in your own twist to it?
I do both fictions and nonfiction. So my nonfiction is very focused on empowering and motivation. I have children's books that take a little bit of the nonfiction world in terms of motivating kids to be, their best. So Charlie's
Yeah,
What's Your
yeah.
Talent's all about that. My fiction is all very plot driven. So while my dark humor comes into play, because I write lots of dark humor, I have tons of quirky characters. I have a book that is called The Cat Lady Special. I have a depressed cat lady turns armor stealer. So trust me, I do quirky really well. So when I'm plotting, I'm very based on an event. You know what I mean? So for Isis, the main event was Isis Black is the name of my character for book 1, is her friend got kidnapped. So you have the whole concept of her finding Bob. And in between, you get to meet all these different characters. You meet the devil, you meet an angel, you meet death, you have a talking cat. So you have an entire set of characters and situations, but the entire plot is Bob is kidnapped and we need to go find him, kind of thing. Same thing. So book 2 in that series, I have zombies in Texarkana. They're trying to figure out where the zombies came from. And yet there's all these things that go besides. So with the new book, which is called Cursed by Fur, we have dead people showing up in Texarkana. And the whole plot is, okay, who's killing them and can we make them stop? In between
Yeah.
that, you get to meet all the different parties that are trying to, you get to see the killer's perspective, you get to see the good guy's perspective, and then you're going, why is she killing them? Like literally, like why are you killing them? Like that makes no sense until you kind of get to the end of the story.
And how do you decide like, okay, what's going to be the next project? Whether it's going to be motivational, whether it's another plot. Is there some like spiritual instinct that you get? Okay, this is what I want to do next. This is where I want to go.
I
This is what I
wish
want to write.
I wish that would be so much simple. It's not. Not at all.
Yeah,
I currently have 4 series that are all needing to get finished. And it goes back to like which story is talking to me the most. And I know that sounds crazy for anybody who's not a writer. Like it's whatever plays in your head the most. Nowadays I feel like I have so many books that need to get done that I just need to like pick it up out of a hat and like, okay, we're gonna do this one. Like this one. So yes, at the beginning, it was one of those like whatever moved my soul. Like during COVID, I did 3 devotionals. That was perfect for that time. There's always something that drives you. Nowadays is very much like, what are we going to do today? And then I'm usually getting to plot. So the fun thing is once you commit to a story, like I get to just go through the whole ride and finish it. I wish I could do multiple plots at the same time, But like I'm very much an immersed kind of writer. It's like whatever I'm working on, like I'm just in that world and I'll be there till that world is done. So I'm not able to switch. I have friends that can do like 5 books at a time. Like they can write a little bit of all of them. And I'm like, how? Like, how do you do that? I'm not. That's not me.
Just on the part where you said, you wish you could do, multiple books at once. So talking on the topic of AI at the moment.
Mhm.
So you're going to get a lot of wannabe authors, or you're going to find a lot of authors that are going to be finishing projects like really, really quick using advanced AI technology out there. And it's technology that's just going to be more and more enhanced as each day, not even month or year, passes. What's your take on that as an organic true author who writes organic stories, or even if it's motivational, it's coming from a good spot? What's your take on that and where it's going at the moment with AI?
When I
Do you
think
see
of
it as something that, so sorry, yeah, I just want to throw one more thing out there. Do you see it as something that's beneficial to the industry, or do you see something as a threat to the industry?
I think as long as we do things ethically, you're going to have benefits in everything we do. It's going to be AI provides an opportunity for very disempowered authors to be seen and heard. It gives an opportunity to authors who can afford, let's say, editing, who can afford cover designers to be able to play on the same level as everybody else. So I don't think there is a negative per se at the beginning, as long as it's ethically done. I'm a believer that as long as you think doing things without harming people, and others, and you're not taking advantage of others, there's always room for everybody at the table. I know everybody has, I have peers who hate AI with a passion. I'm not that. I think it's fun. But at the same time, AI is not for me because the fun part of my process is writing. I always look at writing in 3 buckets. You have the art, you have the craft, and you have the business. The art is creation of the stories. That's my happy place. That's the part that if you ask me if AI can run your business, what you're doing, I'm like, yes, go for it. Can you market? Because I'm on. Like if AI can start marketing my stuff and selling some books, I'll be the first one signing up. It's like, okay, Mr. Google, where do you want me to do that part? But when it comes to the writing of the stories and the creation of it, that's mine. Like that's the piece that I'm not outsourcing. That's the piece that makes me happy. That's the piece that's very much in tune. Like if you read a DC Gomez book, you're going to get action-packed, quirky characters with madness in behind. That's part of the soul. That's my art. The craft and the editing, you can use AI to help you. That absolutely like maximize those skills. If you're going to outsource your entire business to AI, then are you really an artist or you're just trying to make money? Because that's the part, like, and everybody has different things. Like, I'm not interested in judging. Like, my goal is not to judge you. My goal is to love you. You do you, boo. But I know where I fall. So when it comes to that, at the end of the day, there's readers for everybody. Every book's going to find somebody, and you're going to find somebody that's going to enjoy that. Sell it.
Yeah.
I'm just that's what you. If it makes you happy, then do that. It's just don't hurt people. Don't use other people's intellectual property to create your own books. Don't plagiarize. And I think we should be good. There's room for everyone in this business. You just have to be aware of what you're doing and be honest with yourself. If you're using AI, then own it. Don't try to be like, I spent all day writing. Did you?
I love that word you used. If I'm going to outsource my whole business to AI, I'm just not going to do anything. Yeah, you just it's all yours.
You were thinking about it now. It's like if I can outsource it and you make me somebody, I'll be. Listen, where is that guy? Where's Iron Man Javed? I was like, can you outsource that part? Because yes, we'll do some promotions. I'm in the whole time. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Imagine me outsourcing this podcast to AI, and then there's just like this, there's no movement at all, no laughter, you have
a permanent smiley face. I was like, is he smiling? Oh yeah, he's good. Don't worry about it. This is new.
Yeah. No, but ethics, when I've been bringing up the topic of AI with each author since I've started off with Mickey, because it's critical at the moment to bring it up and get everyone's opinion. about it, especially for aspiring authors out there or any sort of creator, because AI and what's happening in music also, it's the same story. Ethics is going to play a huge role. I also don't see an issue with AI, once again, using the word ethics and being responsible, with it. Like, as you said, using it to edit. Or another author said how they use AI to do research, using it in an ethical, responsible way instead of going to Google and, this side. Okay, I need information on what happened in 1930 on this topic, for example. You can get the key, points for that. Like, I started off like a Patreon channel doing this. It's called Unlocking the Icons. So like I go into the life, or till date, I've gone into the life of Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, to name a few, and then using AI tools just to get certain points in different areas of their life saves so much time than scrolling different websites, read from childhood, midlife, all those things. So ethics is going to be a usual, but unfortunately, there is also going to be a good percentage of people out there who are going to use it, just for the sake of making money. That's what's up. So I see many platforms coming up now. I can write an ebook for you in 5 minutes. All you have to do is prompt, and that's it, done. And you can edit, you can design the cover, and boom, that's it. In 24 hours, it's going to be up on Amazon for sale. So
I've seen a whole bunch of those too.
Yeah. So it's scary for a lot of creators out there. That's why I get everyone's opinion. And what I'm telling artists right now is to keep that 50-50 balance. And one point that you mentioned about, look, if I am using AI, be transparent about it with my audience, especially audience, fans, whoever you want to go. I don't like to call them fans because then it means like I'm putting myself on a pedestal. I know there's a lot of creators out there that refer to the masses as fans. I call it, people who actually support my work, who believe in it, who actually want to use it, to benefit their own life and as well as the lives in their communities and so on. But I completely missed the point I was getting to at there. What I was about
being
to say.
transparent. No, think about transparency is about.
Oh, sorry, about transparency. That's the point where I was getting at. Transparency. Look, if you are going to be using AI in your music, for example, be honest about it. So, like what I done is like I have my organic Spotify or Apple Music profile. Cool. Then I started to put an AI project together. I designed a few characters and I got a storyline going with it. It's called Kino and Brittany. Okay. So this whole storyline. So what I did with it is like, I don't know, like, okay, the name Brittany came to me like a few years ago, like to use the name Brittany. I used it like as a chatbot for like the Facebook pages and so on. So I just stuck with it. So now I've like converted her into a musician now using AI. So, of course, the design of it all is 50% organic, 50% AI. Like I love to design as well. And it, like how you would have season 1 in a series. So I've like got Kino Brittany as in like a music series. Now we're on season 1, of the story about how Kino and Brittany met and what was their mandate, and goes around, Kino was like this underground DJ and, he saw a problem with the music industry, which is a true story. It's a true story. I started doing what I'm doing is because I saw the flaws and I saw the corruption and the fraud within the music industry. And I was like, nah, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to start educating independent artists about it, how they can, just go about their career doing it themselves and not depending on record labels and so on. And then the story goes on where, Brittany meets Kino in a club. She comes from a wealthy family and she dislikes her family because our family is part of the corrupt elite. and then the music. So even though I did like the lyrics, I used AI tools. I tested out like a lot of AI tools and how I can actually compose it. And then I created the music based around that, season one, like around that. But the point I'm making is like when I released this and when I communicated and I'm working on this project, I made sure I notified people that, look, this is an AI project. AI is involved here. Keep in mind, AI. Yes, there's a few things I do by myself. Like when it comes to the lyrics and so on, of course, I'm putting that together. I'm being creative on that aspect and how, how I want the storyline to go. But it was AI used when it came to compositions and so on. Yes, it was. I'm not going to be like, oh no, like what you said. I spent a year working on this project, from the piano to the guitar. I played it all, I put this thing together. Boom, the project is out there. No, not. I'm being transparent and I'm keeping my work, 50-50. So also for authors, same applies. Same for painters, what you can do now with AI when it comes to graphic designing. So there's a lot of anxiety, of course, in that department now. Is AI images going to sell more than, an organic painting in galleries in the future to come?
So
Should I stop painting?
People are going to get what they want. So for many of us are killing ourselves saying, all these people are out selling you. I'm still the believer that what is meant for me is going to be for me. Nobody's going to take what my future is supposed to have. That's just what I believe the universe has put together. Sometimes it feels that we have to work harder than others. It could be a possibility. But if you spend your whole entire time as a creator beating yourself up because somebody got something that you didn't, you're going to be miserable. We're back to the whole miserable category. We're back to those conversations of like, why are you doing this? If you're doing this for money, there might be easier ways to get money. Let's be honest. So this is not an easier field. Like think about something else. But it's also about fulfilling that part of your soul that needs to be creative, that needs to express itself. Be aware of that. Just tell people. I know people that if they like something, they don't care how it's made. They're not concerned about it. Whatever it is, abstract art, at the end of the day, a whole bunch of squares on a block that you're going, that took years to make. You're like, I see splashes. Like you looking at it like, that's a splodge. That's a splodge. People are still paying thousands of dollars for splashes. So for us to continue to beat ourselves up of what people are going to buy is going to make our process very, very difficult. Just do your art and let whoever's going to get it decide if they like it or not. At the end of the day, still that, audience who has to decide what they want. You just need to be authentic and put your soul to what you need to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's where the data part comes in, is knowing who your audience is. So no matter what threats you may think is out there for your work as a creator, like if you know who your audience is and you focus on your audience and you keep giving them what they want, they're going to keep supporting you no matter what. Whether I am composing a new single or I'm, putting together a new book and it has that emotional aspect to it that actually touches people emotionally, which AI, doesn't have the ability yet to do. I'm saying yet because we never know what can happen, in the years to come. Never will sell as much, So know who your audience is and like focus on your audience. Data in this day and age is so important. Focus on your audience. Use the data to your advantage. If I'm going to use, music as an example in this point, if I don't look at my Spotify for Artists account and I don't identify my demographics or which country people are listening to my music most, but I keep trying to sell, the music to a wrong bunch of people while still having anxiety about AI threats and so on, then of course you're not going to come out winning on the other side. Focus on the data. It's important. Know your audience. You have your audience. You know who's going to keep continuing reading my books, no matter how it comes out. So thanks for your opinion on that. So with Monday Motivation, what inspired it?
This is kind of a funny story.
Something, okay.
So
I was just going to say, was it something like it happened in your own personal life that said, you know what, I need to get this message out to people?
Believe it or not, my readers were the ones who requested this book. So every Monday, if you sign up on my newsletter, you will get a Monday motivation from me. So, and I've been doing this for years. And It's usually a quote from somebody or a quote that I find that I just moves me. And then I put a reflection message. As I was building my newsletter, I always try to figure it out, what am I going to send people? Why would anybody want to sign up for this newsletter? And I found out that I sign up for newsletters and send me motivation quotes. Like I love to see them. I have a mentor who sends one every day. I was like, I'm not that committed. Like I don't have that much bandwidth to do it every day. That was a lot. So, but I wanted to do a Monday one. Like I wanted to be able to send you one sometime on Monday that you can look at and be like, oh, I needed that today. So I started doing that just every Monday. Still do. And I started getting messages from my newsletter, my readers going, I love that. That resonated. Or thank you for sharing, something of that regards. And it became kind of funny because a couple of them was like, have you considered putting this in a book? And I was like, that sounds like work. Like, why would I? Let me be honest. Like, that sounded like a lot of work. I was like, I don't know about that. And then the ideas just kept playing in my mind. And finally, I was like, that could be kind of cool. So I did a Kickstarter for getting the initial book out. Now the new copy is out at Amazon, so people can get it. So yeah, it became a conversation of people say, I really like those motivations. I have people going, I share them with my friends, I share them with my kids. And I'm like, really? They're like, yes, like we talk about your quotes. Like this has become the strangest underground discussion about just being inspired. And some of them have tough love. Some of them are like, success starts at the, end of your comfort zone, take those leaps. And every quote always ends with follow your dreams. So that's where this book came from. It's one of those strangest, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, you should do a book, I would have given you that look. I was like, and that sounds like work. Like, no, why would I do that? I have somebody who's like, you should do one for the whole year. I was like, you know how many motivations that is? Like a day. I was like that's like 365. So you get in this book, there's like 60 of them. So you can read one each day, each week, and get you through the week. I have a friend who said, I read the whole thing. I was like, what are you going to do the rest of the year? He's like, I don't care. I was like, whatever. So yeah, so it's meant to give you that, you get a little glimpse from the actual ones that I send out to my newsletter. But yes, it became that big joke. People like, you should do this. And I still had that look of like, no, like, why? Why would I? Why do you want me to do more work than I have now? And then I just kind of said yes.
Yeah. Would you mind reading the first 5 in the book?
You want the quotes? Let's look. And I think I picked the ones so the first quote, which then I had to figure out how to format. So first quote, and I'm going to just read you the quotes that I picked. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. And this is by Oliver Goldsmith. And then I'm not going to read you my actual reflections. People can pick it up.
No. Yeah, no, they can do that themselves.
Yeah. So your second one, if you're looking for this motivation, feed yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Oscar Wilde.
Yes.
And this is one of my favorite.
Amen.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Third one, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. Bingo.
Yep. Amen to that as well.
So fourth, change is painful, but nothing is as painful as staying stuck somewhere you don't belong. Mandy Hall.
Yep.
And here's the one. It's your road and yours alone. Others may walk in with you, but no one can walk it for you. Rumi. So
nice.
You get a little bit.
That's only the first 5, and that's already so powerful. That's already first powerful.
You need little reminders in life to make you realize that you are meant to walk this. You're meant to be great. Yeah. You're meant to follow your dreams. And this quote is supposed to get you there, just to give you a little push to be like, it's your world. Live it. Because at the end of the day, you're going to hit that part of your life that you're looking at yourself and say, what did I do? And if you're spending whole time wondering though, like, whether AI is going to take the world or not, you're missing the point. Like, make your world as exciting, as fun as possible. And hopefully the book will give you those motivations. You can read it all at once. Obviously, it's 60 fun, easy quotes, so you can pick one every Monday. So go for it.
I guess, like, with your book, it'll be like, read the quotation, then read what you have to say about it, and then, like, reflect on it for that day. Mm-hmm. Or even for that week. Do one a week. Reflect on it like for a week in your own personal capacity, and start fixing, all those areas that you see in your life, and move on to the next week, step by step, as it says there, small, then you get to that macro?
One of the hardest things for us to realize, especially as artists, is are we living the same purpose that we're asking people to do? So anytime, every quote that I picked, it was a reflection for myself. It's like, am I doing this? Because if I'm asking you to take these steps and do these things, am I actually doing it myself? So everyone was very strategically selected to make sure that, am I following that myself? Am I in that bubble? Am I drinking the Kool-Aid, as we say? And I wanted to make sure that they resonated with me specifically. So every one of the ones that I picked are things that I believe in, that if I open up the book at any quote, I'm like, yep, this is me. This is where I want to be, or this is what I'm striving to do. And some of us might not be at that end goal of where we want to be, but life should not be like a sprint. This is an entire marathon. Like, stop, enjoy the journey, take a break, go to the movies, go on a date, write the book, start the business, but just do something. Because at the end of the day, time's going to fly and you're going to wonder, what have I done?
Yeah.
Take the leap and do it now.
Yeah. No, 100%. Because if you don't, you are going to regret it. If you are fortunate enough to, leave this world because of old age, one day you're going to be lying on your deathbed. We won't call it a deathbed yet, but just before it becomes a deathbed, and you're going to be thinking to yourself, like, what did I really do, with my life? Did I really live my life, doing the things that absolutely mattered the most to me? Did I? And a lot of people, unfortunately, and I do my best each and every single time. And, over the last few years, I can't even count how many times, it's just that, humans can be stubborn at times, to get this through to people, because you don't want to reach that time, that period, and you're going to be like, I did absolutely nothing. I never lived my dream because I was scared and it was fear. And I never write that book because I was, everyone was telling me it's not a good idea. My friends told me I'm an idiot for wanting to do it. If you just stopped and, never go with because you were more worried about what other people were saying, whatever it may be, you will have regrets. But now you don't even have to reach a stage anymore. People are already starting to have regrets. The energies of the world is changing. We're living in different times. Each day has become like, a new day. We're in a different era. So if you are finding it tough now to get started, which there should be no excuse, there is no excuse in the world. You know what I mean? I see out there in the world today, human who are disabled, for example, but who are still doing amazing stuff with their life. So what's your excuse? At the end of the day, if you really think about it, like, what is your excuse from living your best life? And in my experience, personally, when it comes to the musical artists that I deal with in independent space who haven't taken up the time to actually self-educate on how this all works and how it all comes together and how I can get going, it comes down to, oh no, when am I going to get paid? But if you're going to put everything down to the financial aspect, then, unfortunately, people like you and I, or any creative out there who comes on a podcast or is attempting to motivate you in any way, is not going to be able to do it if you don't change your mindset and you focus on that. It's about trusting and it's about believing and it's about having faith.
One of the things you mentioned that I think people have to understand, you also have to be the one defining your success and what that is. Sometimes we spend too much time comparing ourselves to others. I think as artists, especially even writers, we're comparing what other people are doing. We're comparing what success looks like. My biggest, example for everybody, every artist compares themselves to Stephen King. Like Stephen King, the master of now, like the man who's been doing this for 50 years and is killing it. You're not comparing yourself to Stephen King, when he started out in his 20s, living in a trailer with his wife and trying to write in his closet. Like, nobody does that. Like, nobody compares to the guy who had all the rejection letters. So when we do these comparisons, they're never fair to ourselves. We're never fair to where we are in our process. We're always comparing to the end goal, which is a very hard place to achieve. So when we're thinking of success and living your dreams, nobody's telling you what that is besides yourself. So you are the one who has to decide what's going to make me happy. What does that end goal look like? You have to decide What is that dream you're following? And that took me some time to kind of come to terms to be like, what is it? Like, I joke with people, like, I either want to have a cult following or I want to be a household name. Not in between. Like, I want to be other. Like, I need to either be big or huge. Like, what is it we want to do? But I can be very comfortable understanding that, like, I have a really fun cult, and they do get the books and they do stop me. They do want to talk about this and they're in love with these crazy characters. That is kind of my purpose and my mission. Everybody has to define that. Or else, regardless how much you do or don't do, you're still going to find yourself stuck. And that comes
Yeah.
to understanding. Like, you have to have a critical conversation with yourself of what makes you happy, or else you're just killing yourself for no reason.
Yeah. No, you like, well done on, putting it out there that you need to define what success is to you as your own individual person. What do you want and what's going to make you happy? My consulting coach, he said once that being rich is not wealthy. There's many components to wealthy. People think, oh no, wealthy is only linked to how much money you have sitting in the bank account. But there's many components to wealthy. Are you making an impact in the world with the work that are you doing? One of them, which is critically important that we focus on. Am I doing stuff that actually makes me happy, that brings joy to my life every day? Do I wake up in the morning and am I enthusiastic about the day to come, about what I'm going to do? So there's many components to it, and people need to understand that, define what is going to make me happy, not what my friend says is going to make me happy, or what my mother says is going to make me happy. What's going to make me happy? And that day is my wealth. That day is my legacy. So yeah, thanks for pushing out there. I don't want to keep you too long. I want to there's one book, Cursed by Fur. Yes. What's that about?
So this is the new one that just came out. This is my new one. Spicy Little Red Riding Hood book that is out there. It is urban fantasy. For anybody who enjoys a really good fantasy, it is absolutely crazy fun, kind of putting that out there. I am not known for the girl that writes spice. This one has spice and starts out at the beginning. We have some sex and some death. Let me just put it out there. That's just kind of chapter one. And then the madness begins. But for anybody who enjoys an action-packed serial killer, urban fantasy adventure with a really fun twist at the end. So Cursed by Fur is a different take of Little Red Riding Hood. What happens if, she might not be the good one? So kind of the take for it. So I have a lot of my readers who are loving this book and very much like, I cried, I laughed, I was shocked. Oh my God, what just happened? Like, I can't get this book out of my head. And I was like, sorry, not sorry kind of thing. So yes, this is a fun adventure for anybody who needs, which is kind of interesting. We talked about the success concept is, if I would have decided to let other people define my success, I should have been doing only devotionals. I should only be doing urban fantasy. I decide what I get to write, and I write a little bit of the things that make me smile. So this was the season of giving you some action-packed, urban fantasy with a whole bunch of devotionals. So you get it all. And this is where we're at.
Yeah. The twist of Little Red Riding Hood. If I can remember correctly, sorry?
It's a little twisted, yeah. So, and she is killing werewolves. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do love stories with twist. So, yeah. And that's out. So, okay, before I get there, DC. What does DC stand for?
It's actually my middle name is Del Carmen.
Del Carmen. Okay. I was taking like a guess in my head, but I was going with Denise. I think, okay, she's going to tell me Denise. So maybe it's Denise.
Nope. It is actually, it's Del Carmen. Yeah.
Del Carmen. Mm-hmm. Okay, no, cool. And where can people find you online?
Easiest place to find me will be my website, which is dcgomez-author.com. People can check it out. I have taken a sabbatical from social media. I know, horrible thing. I sell online and I'm not online. So we're hoping to get back much more active next year. But most of the easiest way, sign up for the newsletter. If you want to stay in touch and kind of learn the fun adventures that I have, the newsletter is probably the best way. You can go to the website, get a free short story from there, and they'll sign you up for the website. So yeah.
And you get a motivation. weekly.
Absolutely. Every Monday you get to have a little motivation.
You know, that's the cool part about it. And on social media,
I am on Facebook, Instagram, as well as TikTok, and you can find me under DC Gomez. So yes, and I
may
have a
I ask?
cheesy smiling. So yes, I'm always smiling,
Yeah,
so you can't miss it.
yeah. So on TikTok, I'm not really a fan of TikTok. What are you doing on TikTok? Like, what sort of content are you pushing out on TikTok?
TikTok is tough for me. It is one of my social medias that I find it to be very high maintenance. The one thing is I have made some
Yeah,
really awesome connections. I've done everything from like pushing the books to doing some quotes to everything else. I'm trying to redefine what I'm going to do there. I have an entire series that I'm getting ready to develop for next year because I have one of the things that I do is recruiting for death. So I'm in the Reapers recruiting agency. So the goal for next year is to have an entire series of little skits of me trying to recruit people to join our
yeah.
team. So yeah.
Yeah. That's quite cool. Now, I used to be on TikTok. I think it was about 2020 through the COVID period. Then I like sort of like was just testing out each and every single platform. I was like, nah, this is not for me. With everything else going on in my life, I can't spend too much time on each and every single platform. It's good to test out all the platforms, see what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and boom, we move from there. It's like bulk majority. I would say 99% of podcasters out there, it's all YouTube. Then it comes to me and I'm like, nah, YouTube is not my primary playground. Like Spotify is my primary playground. So, also, yeah, put that out there. Work with what works for you.
Thank you. It's finding your place and not having to feel that you have to be everywhere. So yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, 100% on that.
Mhm.
But thank you so much for coming on a Saturday. Much appreciated. It's been an honor to have you here. I will definitely send you that communication about that panel that I spoke to you about. You can go through it. And once the first episode is recorded, which is on the 11th, I'll send that to you. And you can also check it out. How's it going and what exactly, we're touching on there. But I feel, and Dawn Sawyer feels like you'll be a good fit for it to come on. It doesn't have to be all the time like, who can. But yeah, check it out.
Thank you so
And we
much.
can
It's
take
been a
that
pleasure.
conversation from there. Yeah, no, thank you. And I wish you all the best with all of your projects and what's to come. Do you see yourself or your books, especially your series, like being on Netflix or Showmax one day?
That is ideal. I think every author wants their books to translate into like another medium. I would love that. I think it would be so much fun just to watch them play it out. And also gives you a whole different communication with, your audience and how people see and digest things. So yes. But thank you so much for having me. It has been an awesome conversation. I have had a blast. Congratulations on changing minds when it comes to the music industry. That is something that is needed. So you keep doing amazing things. So yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for bearing with our technical issues.
It's only a little bit.
There's never a dull moment. That's what I say. There's never a dull moment. But
Absolutely.
What will life be if everything was just perfect all the time? Just completely boring.
It's not a human thing. We would not handle it well.
Yeah. But thanks, DC. All the best. Have an awesome weekend. And yeah, hopefully I'll be chatting you soon.
Sounds like
on a different podcast. All right. Bye.